Hey, what's up, metalheads? It's Richie Cavallera Insight, and you're watching CMS TV. Keep it heavy.
That happened with talking about sex. That song originally was I Love It When You Flex. I wrote it about Cardi B. And I was inspired by George Michael's. He had, I saw the Wham documentary on Netflix, and I just thought he was so amazing. And it's so, the layers of his talent went so deep that I didn't even know about. He was a great producer and singer and songwriter, and so I'm like, we need to write our sex song, and so I thought, if I say sex, no, it's too much, and I'll just say I love it when you flex, because Cardi uses that expression, and then I took it to Marti, and he's like, let's just say, let's just use sex in it, and I go, okay, well that was the original idea,
Akin Presents, and I, of course, am Chris Akin. And today on the show, we are going to Roar Like Thunder, brand new record from Buckcherry, out on June the 13th. It is an ass kicker. If you like Buckcherry, you will certainly love this one. Even if you don't like Buckcherry, you might like this one. It's a really, really strong record from the guys. And here he is to talk about it, the main guy, Mr. Josh Todd. Josh, how are you, sir?
Hey, I'm good, man. Thanks for having me. Yeah, we're out here on tour right now in Canada as we speak on the Roar Like Thunder tour, and the record drops June 13th, and we're really excited.
Absolutely. Well, you should be, man. I've had a couple of people ask me what the record sounds like, fans of the band, and it's like
Yeah.
what I've been telling people is if you take all the best elements of what you like about Buckcherry, and maybe you strip out a little bit of the ballads, because this is a more straightforward rocky record than
Yeah.
other ones. That's what you have with this. It just feels like all the greatest stuff that you've done. Is that fair?
That's very fair, and that was the stipulation we put on ourselves. We're like, this record is going to be a rocker, no ballads, no cover songs. We're going to just rock, and that's what we did. I mean, and we had a lot of fun doing it, and the songs do have a lot of dynamics. We got mid tempos, we got rockers, we got we got punk rock type vibey songs, and it's a lot of fun.
Sure. And what I think shines on this record, and what I think more bands should do, is I like the fact that it's just a short blast. It's not an hour of music. It's just get in 30 minutes, boom, you got your fix and you're out. It's perfect.
Exactly. That's all you need. 10 songs. I'm never making more than 10 song records. You don't need to. Once you get into filler on records, nobody listens to that shit, I don't listen to that shit. Like,
Right.
I like 10 song records. I like 9 song records, 7 song records, I mean, you only want to fill it up with good stuff so
Right.
that, you're in and out, like you're saying.
Right on, man. Well, Josh, last time I talked to you a few years ago, I think it was not the last record, but the record before it. That was obviously, it was right in the middle of the pandemic, and you were more, when I talked to you, you seemed like you were more interested in being a human being than being a rock star at that point. I think it was when you were doing stuff with hospitals, and you were dealing with pandemic, as we all were.
Yeah.
Talking about looking back at it, I guess, how do you feel now? Do you feel like you've shed that piece of your life, or do you feel like that actually enhanced your life, made you a stronger
No.
person?
Yeah, it totally enhanced my life. I learned something new. I really like learning stuff new, and it was, although I didn't like the financial stress that it put on me because of, it was nice to get away from music for a second, and to, even though we were writing and recording the Hellbound record, which is a great record, but the fact that I learned phlebotomy, which I think is what you're referring to,
Mhm.
was really cool. And I got into these settings that were out of my comfort zone, and I had to learn something new. And whenever you do that, you're like your brain is like creating all these new little tentacles, and it was a lot of fun for me, and I got to meet a lot of really nice people, and I got to also serve my community, and that was all like really cool, and nobody knew who the fuck I was, which was rad. No one cared and no one knew,
Right,
and I was just slinging COVID,
right.
and in downtown LA, and I worked with a guy named Juan, and he was an awesome dude. And we would listen to hip hop and draw blood and fucking run tests and talk about all kinds of shit. He was a great dude, and I worked with a lot of cool people. A lot of nurses and paramedics and stuff. It was awesome.
Sure. Have you stayed in touch? Do they know who you are now? Is my real question.
I stayed in touch with Juan. We get together. He's big into boxing, and I'm a huge boxing
Okay.
fan, and so we talk boxing a lot. Because we're not working together, obviously.
Sure.
But yeah, he's awesome, dude.
Very cool, man. Well, Josh, let's get into the record here. We'll start with the title track, Roar Like Thunder. Very raw, very straight up, like you said, almost a punky vibe to it. Was this the first song that you wrote that kind of was like the blueprint for the record, or did another song kind of lead you to this one?
Roar Like Thunder, the first song.
Yeah.
You know what? That's a great question. I don't know which is one of the first songs that we wrote for this record,
Okay.
because we wrote so many songs. I think I had to ask Stevie that, like, when did Roar Like Thunder come about? He's like, oh, it was like one of the earlier tracks. So I guess we wrote it earlier on in the songwriting cycle. But when I get in that mode, man, I'm just like, you know, ideas are coming, and we're writing songs and we're rewriting songs and we're doing all kinds of things. So I think that came pretty quickly early on in the songwriting sessions. And it's just one of those songs that was just felt good right away. And those are always songs that become singles.
Right. When you start writing, what do you write from? Do you sit around and write riffs yourself, or do you come up with lyrics and then have the guys kind of mix and match it to that?
Yeah, it happens all kinds of different ways.
Okay.
Sometimes I will come up with a whole composition lyrically, and that happened with Talking About Sex. That song originally was I Love It When You Flex. I wrote it about Cardi B, and
Okay.
I was inspired by George Michael's. He had I saw the Wham documentary on Netflix, and I just thought he was so amazing, and it's so the layers of his talent went so deep that I didn't even know about. He was a great producer and singer
Sure.
and songwriter. And so I'm like, we need to write our sex song. And so I thought, if I say sex, no, it's too much, and I'll just say I love it when you flex, because
Mhm.
Cardi uses that expression, and then I took it to Marti, and he's like, you know, let's just say uh let's just use sex in it. And I
Mhm.
go, okay, well, that was the original idea. So that's how that came about. And then they come up with the music to it. Or sometimes they'll just give me a musical composition without any lyrics or melodies, and I'll write from there. I'll just write lyrics and melodies. Sometimes Stevie and Marti will come up with a song, and Marti will be like, I had this in mind. And he'll just send me like a voice note, a scratch like melody with
Mhm.
he'll just be like singing and I'll be like, oh, okay, I like that, and I'll write words to it, stuff
Right
like
on.
that.
Sure. And now when you are writing songs, like we'll stick with Talking About Sex for a minute. Do you hear it kind of in the set list as you're putting it together, as it comes together? Because, I mean, outsider looking in, I could see that one playing right before Crazy Bitch and just getting the crowd crazy. I mean, do you kind of look at your music as you're creating new stuff and see where it could fit? Because
No,
obviously you're
no.
taking it to the road.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we've been writing Buckcherry records for a long time now, so we
Mhm.
know what's going to resonate with the audience and what's going to work. But when you're writing a song, you don't want to like second guess it so much to where you can't even get through it. Like, is this going to work with an audience? Is this that?
Mhm.
You just want to finish songs and make them as great as they can be, And then you'll circle back once you have a body of work and you'll go, hey, you know what? This works. This one probably doesn't work. So set that aside. And we need something more like this to fill this gap in this record, whether it be like we got a lot of rockers. We need a 4 on the Floor. We need an AC/DC type song. Like, come on. I always like, give me my AC/DC track. And then they come up with the music to Come On, and Come On is born, and we got fast tempo songs like When the Sun Goes Down and stuff like that, and Roar Like Thunder and Let It Burn, and so once you get so many of those, you're like, okay, we need a little more dynamic. We need some groove. And then we get Talking About Sex and Blackout. And, so that's how it all starts working.
Right on.
It's the Motley Crue album that shocked the world. 1994's self-titled release with its brand new sound and brand new voice in John Corabi. Fans were divided, critics were stunned, and the label pulled the plug. But for some, including rock critic Chris Akin, it was a game changer. In his latest book, Chris Akin takes you on a journey through this polarizing album, sharing his personal experiences and the impact it had on the rock scene. Love it or hate it, you can't ignore it. Get your copy now at chrisakin.net or on Amazon.
Hello Goodbye is probably the curveball, I guess, of the record, if there is one. I mean, they all fit pretty well.
Yeah.
This one, and don't take this as a bad comparison, but my first vibe I heard was Oasis. Like the beginning was very Oasis-y. Tell me about that track, man.
Well, it sounded to me like the Beatles, but Oasis is the Beatles as well, so I mean, that's a great observation. That song came to us from Marty. He had literally written the whole thing, except the lyrics, all the lyrics. He had the Hello Goodbye thing, and then I just worked off of that, and I wrote the rest of the lyrics because we all liked the song, and that's how that song was born, and like you said, it was kind of off the beaten path, but every time we kept circling back to it, we're like, this is really good. This is a really good song. We need to get this on the record, so that's how I got on the record.
Right on. Now, you mentioned Marty a couple of times, and you've worked with him before. I know he did what, Black Butterfly. What is
Black
it about
Butterfly? He co-wrote "Sorry" with us on the 15 record.
Yeah,
lot of songs.
So working with him, what is it about him that allows you? Because you don't need a production guy. You know what you're doing. What is it about him that keeps you coming back to him and saying, I can use what he adds?
Well, he's more than just a production guy. He's a songwriter, he's a really talented songwriter. And so getting with him brings the songwriting to another level, and we learn a lot. And he brings out what's great about Buckcherry too. He understands why it works. So he doesn't try to make us something that we're not, which is really important when you're writing songs with people. And he always wants to do what's best for the song, and that's what we want. And there's no egos, and it's just, we just want to make a great product, and so we've been making some really great records together, and we're going to continue to do that. We did Hellbound Volume 10 and now Roar Like Thunder, and they're really great.
Sure. What is it with you, Josh? And I, you obviously mentioned it a little bit, but I've known this from interviewing you 15 other times. You like music outside of what you do, but you've never kind of made the mistake that so many bands make of trying to do that. Even your solo record sounded like a Buckcherry record. So I mean, what is it? What keeps you focused enough to not explore, a hip hoppy type of a record or something like that?
Because that's not how, when people hear my voice, they don't hear it with that type of that genre of music, so it doesn't matter how great of a song I write, I'm going to get just slammed, for doing something like that, and I'm smart enough to know that I got to stay in my wheelhouse of where I had success, and that's in the rock genre. And so I'm going to continue to do that. But the reason why I listen to all kinds of different music is because it teaches me about songwriting, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I bring all that knowledge into my lyric writing and my melodies and, and put it into the rock genre. And that's why I think it's interesting. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, I always tell people, if you want to write great songs, listen to fucking hit songs. Don't listen to fucking shitty, you know, B-sides that no one cares about, that weren't hits,
Right.
that didn't resonate with millions of people. I want to resonate with I want a huge audience. I want to be able to do this until the day I die. You know what I mean? Like, how do I do that? Well, you got to write great songs that people remember, that people love, you know? Okay, how do I do that? All right, well, you know, the pop genre in my, you know, all the best songwriters write pop music, right? They're writing. So I go and I listen to pop songs. I love pop music, you know?
Mhm.
And then hip hop is like one of the biggest genres of music as far as what's selling. So I go to hip hop and I start listening to their song structures. And although it's different, it's very, it's really cool the way they craft songs. You know what I mean? It's much different than rock and pop music, but they have their formula, and they have hooks, and they do have melodies, you know? So, you know, I just listen to all that, and that enhances my songwriting on the rock side of things.
Sure. Now, Josh, obviously, as you mentioned, I think it was before we even started, but you are on tour. You're out there with Steel Panther. How's that tour going, and how is that audience for you?
Oh, it's going great. We all get along really well. You know, they're all Cali boys, and you know, it's just fun. You know, they have a really fun show. They're nice people, and you know, we've already toured with them in the past. We did a tour in Australia with them, and it's going really great. And it's kind of a no-brainer. You know, our fans like them, and their fans like us. You know, it's a lot of fun. Like tonight is sold out, so we're fired up.
Very good, man. Well, what obviously with the record coming out, you, especially Buckcherry, you guys are road dogs anyway. You know, what does the year look like for you? Is it busy and nonstop touring?
It's very busy. I'm talking to you. We're about to drop a record June 13th, Roar Like Thunder. We got a tour. It's time. It's go time. It's time to rock and bring this music to the people and tour the world.
Right. So it'll be here as well as Europe, I'd imagine.
Everywhere, yeah, for sure.
Very good. Well, Josh, before I let you go, I gotta ask you about acting real quick, and I've never asked you about this before. But I loved when what was it, The Shield or Sons of Anarchy? I forget which show it was, but you were the kind of the you know, the seedy under guy that was selling the porn. I loved that.
Yeah, that was an episode of The Shield. Yeah,
I loved that, and I would love to see you do more acting. Is there
Yeah.
any plan to do more acting, or?
I just got a gig, but I couldn't do the gig, and I don't even want to mention what it was for, but it was a good one, and I couldn't do it because they wanted me to hold so much time, and eventually it went into the touring schedule, and I couldn't do it, you know, which was really a heartbreaker. But yeah, I've done a lot of stuff, you know. I would like to do more, of course, you know, when time permits. That would be a lot of fun.
Sure. I mean, do you see that as kind of the long distance future, or is Buckcherry it until you're in the hole?
It's a different animal, you know, and the only problem with that is like hustling gigs and then, you know, having any kind of security in that game. And, you know, it's not, I built my career in music, you know, so I'm not going to abandon music, you know, so I don't know, you know, it'd have to be the right situation. You never know.
Right on, man. Well, Josh, obviously, man, we've been talking about Roar Like Thunder. It's brand new release from Buckcherry. It's out on June the 13th. Everybody should buy it. Don't just stream it, people. Buy it, please. Help the band out. Where should we tell people to go to actually buy the record or merch or tchotchkes or whatever?
Well, you can buy it on all, you know, digital platforms like Amazon and iTunes, and I bought it on iTunes. I pre-ordered it on iTunes, and you get 2 songs right now, Roar Like Thunder and Come On. And you can also stream it, and you can go to buckcherry.com and click on a link to all those platforms to purchase music.
Very good. Well, one more time, it is Roar Like Thunder. It is Buckcherry. And Josh, as always, this is fun, man. Thanks for joining me here on Chris Akin Presents.
Yeah, my pleasure, man.
We've all been there. Heartbreak, loss, and the struggle to move on. But few have laid it all bare like Chris Akin. In Little Victories, Chris shares his raw and powerful journey through a brutal divorce. Every painful moment, every emotional battle, and every step toward healing is captured in this honest, unfiltered story. If you've ever been through a tough breakup, Little Victories is the guide you need. Get your copy today at chrisakin.net or on Amazon.